Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Bob. My name is Craig, and tonight's topic is the big picture. Basically, I'm going to provide you with a summary of what it is that I actually believe. Now, I'm going to reference several posts I've done in the past, last 5 or 6 weeks. I'm basically going to bring forth to you a summary of what it is that what I really believe. Okay, the first thing I want to tell you, I believe that time is a concept. It's a concept that's created by man. Time doesn't warp, it doesn't bend. That's all pseudoscience. Time is a concept which conceptually goes back to negative infinity. That means I believe that the universe was brought into existence by an intelligent cause, aka God, or some other name you want to call him or her or they. Okay? And we'll just call the starting point X. So before X, there was absolutely nothing in the universe which occupies space. That's the fundamental nature of matter. Matter occupies space. Okay? So the universe was brought into existence by an intelligent cause in its initial state. Now, I don't know exactly what that initial state is, but no, it's not necessary. It's not a rock, or it's not a singularity or anything like that. It was just there were certain features that are already there from the very beginning, like that. So I believe that the universe was brought into existence literally in the blink of an eye in its initial state. Now, all changes that have taken place with respect to this initial state. Now, let's talk about the Earth. Obviously, the Earth is our home, and that's what we're really kind of talking about here. I believe it was God's plan to segregate the Earth into nation states. As you know, the world has gone through a lot of growing pains over the many hundreds, even thousands of years, and now we have 256 countries or nations. Every nation, in my humble opinion, represents a quarantine. It represents an axiom of security which preserves the fabric of our humanity. See, the world has all these issues, has problems, as we all know, and the purpose of every country is to compartmentalize these problems. So the world's overall set of problems is compartmentalized across the world itself into these countries: Australia, New Zealand, United States of America, China. Doesn't matter whether the country is democratic or whether it's communist. Every country plays its role in quarantining and dealing with the world's overall set of problems. It just plays its role in dealing with whatever it's on its plate, so to speak. Now, I believe that was God's plan to have the Earth, have our home passed into 250 odd countries. Now, what's happening in the last couple hundred years? I believe that humanity is sleepwalking towards globalism. So what is globalism? Globalism can be thought of as the universal push towards the idea of having some kind of global government, a global authoritative system, global system of control. So what would that effectively do? See, a global system of control would effectively neutralise the essence of every country on this earth. Now, what is it that upholds a particular country? For example, I'm from Australia. Well, it's up here. It's a belief, isn't it? It's the belief in your country. The very existence of Australia is basically being upheld by the multitudes of people that believe in the country, and they believe in nationalism. They believe in the country as being relevant and good, and that's with any country. Now, globalism threatens to cut that down. So it threatens to take away that belief. So we can think of globalism in the same way that we can think of the hull of a ship, like, for example, the Titanic. As you know, the hull of a ship is compartmentalized. It consists of many compartments. Now, why would that be the case? Well, if there's a water leak, then the leak would be contained, wouldn't it, in one of these compartments, depending on where the water leak is. Now, if you took away these compartments and there's a water leak, the ship would flood a lot quicker, wouldn't it? Because you don't have that sense of quarantine, that the compartmentalized aspect to the security of the ship. All right. So it was God's plan to have this security system set up. So the world's overall sense of security, which maintains the fabric of our humanity, is to be compartmentalized across the earth. So every country plays its role in preserving our fabric, our soul, the soul of humanity. Now, let's talk about what's actually leading people towards globalism. Well, it's natural for us to embrace our country, isn't it? Doesn't matter what country it is. Just say you don't like your country, you pack up and move somewhere else, wouldn't you? But you end up in a state where you embrace whatever country you choose to live in or be a part of. And so, and you believe in it, and it cradles your life, cradles your sense of worth. Now, what happens, globalism? Well, that belief is kind of withdrawn a bit. So the emphasis that you place on the value that you have in your country is reduced. And that brings you closer psychologically towards the idea of being controlled by some kind of global government. Now, I believe that this idea of globalism is unnatural. People don't want this, so they have to be tricked into it. And that's really the only way that can happen is for people en masse to be victims of a psychological hoax. A psychological hoax. Well, what is a psychological hoax? Well, what is a hoax? A hoax is just basically a scam, a way to trick you into doing something you wouldn't normally do. So a psychological hoax is basically an activity that's designed to change your attitude. Now, the mainstream media plays an invaluable role in allowing the globalists to establish psychological hoaxes and use that as a basis to trick us into thinking that we need to be controlled by some kind of global government. I can give you several examples: 9/11, COVID-19, and climate change. Those three things in particular are fleeting examples of a psychological hoax. 9/11 is based on an actual event, something which actually occurred, based on terror and fear. COVID-19 was the opposite. It was based on nothing. It was just, it was based on fear, but the fear itself was just, it was exaggerated. You know, you saw people dying in the streets of Wuhan in China, but it didn't say that anywhere else. You just saw it in one area. You know, if it was an actual virus, the bodies would have been, you'd have a trail of bodies leading from Wuhan to the airports, from airports in China, which would take people to all four corners of the earth. But that didn't happen, you know what I mean? So that's just theatre. I mean, that's the thing. And I'll talk more about these psychological hoaxes in up and coming videos. So, as I said to you before about the mainstream media, the mainstream media is fair and balanced when it comes to about 98% of all the issues, but it's within the 2% of issues that are not fair and balanced, that's where the psychological hoaxes play in. See, the 98% of the issues they are fair and balanced on, that's like bait. That seduces people into thinking that they're fair and balanced when it comes to absolutely everything. And that kind of creates almost like a God complex. You know, people just have this blind adoration towards the media. It's quite sick, really, but they do. And so, yeah, within that 2%, that's where the psychological hoaxes come in. But not all psychological hoaxes are being offered to us via the media. As I talked about earlier, in an earlier post, aliens in Area 51. Now I submit to you, Area 51 is just an example of an installation, one of many, that are involved in the creation and maintenance of exotic technologies. The exotic technology is just a technology which is quite not normal and appears foreign or alien. Hence, it's why when people see these flying saucers, they think, oh, aliens are here. But in reality, it's just clever technology created by clever people. Very, very genius, clever people, you know what I mean? And so what happens is, lately we've been seeing more and more of these objects in the sky, flying saucers, strange lights, lasers, weird phenomena, just really weird stuff. And we're seeing that more and more often. Now, what's the purpose of this? Well, I submit to you, this is all global theatre, all right? It's a global theatre of effects. The purpose of these effects is to create anxiety, a sense of anxiety which compels people to believe in the need for some kind of global authoritative system. And it's kind of like every time you see something of a global nature, like a flying saucer, because when you think of a flying saucer, you think of aliens, and when you think of aliens, you think of something outside this earth, all right? So it's beyond the nation states. It's outside, so it can't be, it's beyond the jurisdiction of nation states, isn't it? So therefore, every time you see a flying saucer or a strange light in the sky, or you hear a strange noise, it just increases the anxiety and it leads people closer to wanting some kind of global response, all right? Now, as I said here, it just chips away at the belief that upholds your country. That's called national pride. Everyone has a certain degree of national pride, all right? National pride, I submit to you, is what's holding up your country, all right? I have pride in my country, Australia, all right? There's a certain amount of national pride that I have in my mind, okay? And so I've got to be careful, because when I look at a flying saucer, well, I believe wholeheartedly it's just an exotic technology, and it's a scam. It's just part of this globalist theatre of effects that's just designed to con people into thinking that we need some kind of global government. That lies really at the heart of all this. Now, I'm a theist, so I believe that it's a God, but what I also believe, which I consider to be fundamental to our creation, is the existence of basically two sides of supernatural beings. You have the supernatural good guys on one hand, and the supernatural bad guys on the other. We call them God and the devil, so to speak. But they're just words, you know what I mean? But say God and Satan. I'll just refer to them as God and Satan because they're typical type of words. Now, I believe that Satan, the bad guy. Now, God is a good guy. Satan is a bad guy. So Satan is using globalism to attack our humanity. Now, the globalists that are setting up at the behest of Satan, they don't necessarily agree with what Satan wants. See, the globalists have their own selfish reasons as to why they're carrying out this kind of campaign to create a globalist state, all right? Some want population reduction. Some just want the power of having this control over people. But Satan, on the other hand, I don't think he's really interested in those things. He's more interested in whittling down your humanity to that of an animal. Like a Mad Max society, so to speak. That's what he really wants. Now, you've seen Mad Max, the movie Mad Max, and you've seen the latest one, Mad Max Fury Road. Just have a look at that movie, and that's really what Satan wants, and that's where globalism threatens to take us if we're not careful. We've got to be careful. That's the end game, is globalism. We have a global government, and the global government will tear down the fabric of our humanity, the thing that makes us human. That's fundamentally, that lies at the core of what a globalist system will do. So the only way we can get around this is to retain your national pride. Retain your national pride. Don't let don't let any strange noise or spacecraft or aircraft in the sky, don't let it distract you from the need to believe in your country. All right, the need to believe in your country. That's what's going to uphold your country. And by upholding your country, you uphold your country's specific contribution to the overall security of this world and the health and the soul of humanity. Okay, so let me summarize. Let me summarize the summary. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and it was God's plan to have the earth segregated into 250 odd nation states. Every nation state represents an axiom of security. It represents a compartment in the overall dealing of the world's problems, like a quarantine, so to speak. So that's God's plan. Now, Satan's plan is to tear down these compartments. Now, by doing that, it's easier to flood, isn't it? Just like a ship, the hull of a ship, that's split into compartments. You take away the compartments, and when there's a water leak, the thing leaks a lot quicker. The thing floods a lot quicker. And that's an analogy that I use to help you understand that's what we're really dealing with. So Satan wants to take away the compartments. And by doing so, he wants to set up a global government, global authoritative system, and that in turn will set up an Achilles heel, and that will lead to the abolition of these compartments. Now, on paper, Australia, New Zealand, United States of America, they'll still exist on paper. But what's going to happen under a global government, the belief in Australia will be reduced. The belief in New Zealand will be reduced. The belief in the United States of America will be reduced. Globalism is a campaign to reduce the belief in our countries to that of a minimum level. So effectively, it neutralises the essence of having a nation in the first place. All right? And we have to rebel against this. We have to rise against this. Now, I've talked about psychological hoaxes. There's not just a psychological hoax, but there's another thing called the theory of evolution and the Big Bang theory. Those two theories combine to create an excellent impression of God's non-existence in the minds of those that just don't want to believe. So the more you think about the theory of evolution coupled with the Big Bang theory, the easier it is to imagine that all of this is possible without a created God. All right? It's like reading a pornographic video or magazine. The more you look at it, the more exciting it gets. And atheists will defend evolution with all their might because it's basically the cornerstone of their wet dreams as far as not believing in God is concerned. So there's just a little side thing there. But critical thing I want you to understand, the mainstream media is a system of control. As soon as you understand that it's a system of control, it no longer becomes a system of control. You're released from it, okay? So what that means is you have the freedom to see when the next psychological hoax is being perpetrated, okay? And you just laugh at it, as I do. You just laugh at it. Just love your country, all right? Love your country, but laugh at the media. The media is a joke, but your country is real, okay? Your country is beautiful. Love your country, love your family, and love yourself, okay? So that's all I really have to say. So the big picture, love your country. God bless you all. Bye-bye.